What's going on, everybody? It's Friday. The weekend is here. Praise God. Get a rest. Get away from work. That being said, I tried to put this video out last night, but I recorded it on my test machine, and my settings on Simple Screen Recorder were screwed up or something, or not. I didn't have it set up right because it only recorded in SD and it looked like garbage. But it was kind of a blessing in disguise because the video was about a half an hour long, and I know people kind of shy away from watching longer videos on YouTube. So I want to get this one out and make it shorter. It's going to be probably, hopefully, around the 15-minute mark is all. I know that's still a little bit long, but I just want to go over the fact that my install script is now out and pushed to my GitHub and my Gitlab pages. So if you go over there, it is up and ready for you to use. So that being said, let's go ahead and go to my GitHub. And if you go to my page on GitHub, you can see a repo called autoconfig, and that is my script. So if you click on that repo, autoconfig, you'll see the license and the README, and it's autoinstall.sh is the script. Let's just go ahead and read through the README real quick. It's basically autoconfig. It's a script that will automatically install and configure versions of my system setup with different window managers. Contains all basic necessary programs to get your system up and working. There are a few dependencies, but the script will check for them. If they're not installed, it will install them for you. So this basically is designed to where you can just sit back and select your window manager and maybe put your password in a time or two, and that's about it. The script does all the heavy lifting for you. The distros that are included right now, it will work on Void, glibc. I haven't tried it on Musel. I don't know if I will or not, but I do know it works on Void glibc, and it works on Arch-based distros that I've tried it on. I don't see why it would work on others Arch-based distros, but everyone I've tried it on, it's worked. The window managers included right now are Herb's Luft and Berry. I do plan on adding more in the future, but I just wanted to get this out and get it out to the masses so they can test it and let me know if there's any issues on their machines. So that being said, it also gives you a list of the important key bindings, not all of them, just the important ones that are going to be enough for you to be able to move around and figure things out in there. My mod key in my configuration files is the Alt key. I do not use the super key, I use the Alt key. So if you're a super key user and you use this script, remember that when you first launch, until you change it, the mod key will be Alt. So to launch a terminal, mod shift return is going to launch Kitty. It will install Kitty. I will go over a little bit later here the ability to not have it install programs. But that kind of causes issues, so I'll touch on that here in a bit when I can go into a little more detail. I just want to get through this README real quick. So it will launch Kitty. If you don't want it to launch Kitty, though, I got a little note here. You're going to need to edit the configuration files to call the terminal you want. My run launcher or program launcher is mod shift D. If you install Herb's Luft, it's going to be my fuzzy finder launcher, and if you install Berry, it's going to be my D menu launcher. So, and it will set that all up for you. You don't have to choose. To launch my logout menu to reboot or shut down or log out or whatever is going to be mod shift C. And to close an active window, so whichever window you're looking at, you can close with mod shift Q. Some cleanup notes here. This will install Kitty Terminal Emulator, D menu, Devour, Xdo Tool, Polybar, Simple X Hotkey Daemon or SXHKD, X wallpaper, nitrogen. I install both of those because in my Herb's Luft config, you can either call X wallpaper if you're just concerned with setting one wallpaper and letting it be, or you can comment that out and uncomment the nitrogen line if you have nitrogen installed, and that way you can do a random wallpaper every time you launch. So it will install both of them. It installs FZF or Fuzzy Finder, and it installs Font Awesome. If you do not want to install those, then you can comment out the programs _install function in the select statement. Again, I will touch more on that in a few minutes in the script, but this will break the config and you will have to heavily edit to get it to work on your system, which basically kind of defeats the purpose of this script. So if you do not want those problems installed, maybe this script isn't for you. So that's just my warning out there. If you want to use it and you're not worried about having to edit heavily, by all means, please take it and try it and let me know what you think. But if you're kind of not sure about editing the files and you just want something that works, but you don't want to install those programs, maybe don't use this script. After the install process, please reboot your system. I have run into a few issues with display resolution looking funky before logging in, or if you don't reboot before logging in. Also, I attempted to take into account every scenario I could possibly think of. However, I cannot account for every individual system or setup, so I cannot guarantee this will work on your system. I've tested it on multiple VMs and on hardware on Arco Linux, Artix Linux, and Void glibc, not Musel. And aside from the aforementioned resolution issues, everything has worked as it should. Now, again, that's not guaranteeing that it's going to work as it should on yours, but everything I have put it on, it has worked fine, aside from a kind of resolution issue every once in a while. And, if you reboot and go back in, sometimes that resolution issue is still there. I had to reboot on a couple occasions. I've tested this thing probably 50 to 100 times. And I think maybe a handful, half dozen or so, I had to reboot twice and the resolution issue was fixed. I don't know what's going on with that. It's just something wacky. And then you'll see as I run it today in some VMs, sometimes there's some wacko stuff that only happens in VMs and it doesn't happen on hardware. So, I don't know what the deal is with that. But and my last little note here, the Polybar config, you're going to most likely need to edit the Polybar config modules to suit your system. I have included a package update module for Pacman and for XBPS, and the correct one goes to the correct system. So if you install it on Void, it will install the module for XBPS, and if you install it on Arch or an Arch-based system, it will run the module for Pacman. So you won't have to worry about that. But like your audio and your Wi-Fi and stuff like that, you might have to mess with those modules to get them to work with your system. So that being said, let's go ahead and go over here, and I can just open it up on my Github page. Let's go ahead and look at the script real quick. Now, I want to say I kind of got the idea for this by watching a couple other people that I follow, and they did these, and I thought, this would be a good project, something fun to do that I can try and see what I can come up with, and just kind of, like I've said before, I love scripting, but I need as much practice as I can get. So this was a good way for me to get some practice. That being said, the ones I looked at were like 100, 150 lines, maybe at most. I got a little carried away, I think, because mine's about 420 lines. Now, I did mine a little bit differently than those people did, though. Mine is more modular. I basically created a function for each section of the script, and then I call the function at the end in the select statement. So you can see maybe here, I'll just go through these real quick. You can look them up on GitLab and GitHub and see them for yourself. But I've just got some functions here to draw some stuff, to draw boxes around anything that I want you to be sure to read or anything that might require input on your part. And I got a function here that's going to check that all the main dependencies are installed. So it's going to check for wget. It's going to check for make. It's going to check for GCC, and it's going to check for Git. So it's going to check for all those, and then it's going, if you have them, great. If not, it will install them for you. This is actually on the Void system. If you are aware, Arch has the AUR. Void does not have the AUR, but it has something similar. Not quite as extensive, but it has the Void source packages repo on GitHub, which is a great system. I use it online, and it works wonderfully. Well, I have this that will set that up for you. So if you're on a Void system and you don't have that set up yet, this script will do it for you. Again, if you do have it set up, you can say, no, I don't need to do this, but this will set it up for you, and the script will install my script that allows you to print a menu on your screen of what you can launch from here or what you can install from here, and install it by that. So it makes it pretty easy to use. It installs the system for you and makes it easy to use and install stuff off of. So then I got Yay installed. This script requires Yay. You have to have Yay. If you do not have Yay installed on your system, it will install it for you. If you don't want it installed, it's going to exit the script and not let you do it because the script uses Yay. The only way you could do it without using Yay is to go through here and edit anywhere that I used Yay to use whatever AUR helper you want to use. But that being said, it'll check for Yay. If it's there, great. If not, it will install it. It's going to check for your .local directory because I do some stuff in your home user .local directory. So it will check for that. If it's found, great. If not, it will create it for you. Then it's going to run the package install function. Or this is the package install function. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to install any packages that are needed for this system to work. Like I said, it's going to install like Kitty, it's going to install Xdoodle, Polybar, Simplex Hotkey, it's going to go through all that. It's going to ask you for dmenu to work correctly. The way I have it set up in the configuration files, you have to use my dmenu setup. And so if you already have dmenu set up and you don't have the same patches as me, you are either going to have to install my dmenu setup and use my dmenu setup, or go through and edit the configuration file to use the flags that are appropriate for the patches you do have installed. So it'll give you the option to install my dmenu or not. But if you don't, you need to go through and change any dmenu key binding that I have to make sure that your patches match the flags I use. So it's going to do that on Void, or it's going to do it on Arch, depending on, it'll check for whichever system you're running, and it will just do it. Then it's going to run the install herps, or it's got the install herps function, which basically is just going to install herps lift. And then it's got the install berry function, which is basically just going to check if you have berry installed and then install it if you don't. If you do have it installed, the script will stop and exit, and then you're going to have to make some adjustments. Then it's going to go through if you installed Herbst, and it will check and fetch any files needed. So it's going to do the configuration files, it's going to do the scripts that I have, it's going to do Polybar, it's going to do all that, and it's going to move them to where they need to be on your system. It will move the scripts to the user local bin, so it's in your path. If you want them elsewhere, you can then move them wherever else, but I just put them there because I know that will work out of the box, and you'll be good to go and be able to use them from the start. So it'll do that for Pacman and for XPPS, so on Void or Arch, either one. Same thing with Berry. It's going to find all the files you need and everything, and it will fetch them and put them wherever they need to be. Herbs Lift will create a desktop entry, or a desktop entry for your display manager. Berry does not. So if you use a display manager, this script will install a X-Session desktop entry for you. If you go ahead and say yes to do that. If you use StartX, you are responsible for going and editing your .xnetRC file on your own. I will not do that. The script does not do that for you. I've got a function to perform a system update. And then I have an opening statement that kind of gives you just a heads up warning on stuff. And then I've got the closing statement that, again, like on my README, gives you the important key bindings and just kind of lets you know that I can't guarantee that it's going to work correctly on your system, and yada, yada, yada. It says you might need to edit and tweak stuff. I've got a function to check if you're running root, because I'd prefer you don't run this in root. Well, I shouldn't say I would prefer, but most people don't want to do this on their root directory. And if you are running this as root, it's going to install it on your home directory and your root directory, not on your home directory and your user directory. So yeah, if that's what you want to do, by all means, but you'll have to comment this out in the end of the script, and I'll show you where to do that. But you'll have to comment this out so you can run it as root. Otherwise, it will fail and exit. I have this right here to set EO pipe fail, which will basically fail the script and exit the script if any process or any part of the script fails, and it'll give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on and to why, so you can check on it. And then we have the start of the actual script. So it's going to run that opening statement that gives you a bit of a warning. It's going to do a directory check to make sure your directories are correct, and it's going to install check for needed programs, the wget, git, and that stuff there, and install them if you need them. Then it's just basically a select statement from there that says basically for case in, and if you choose Herbs Lift, it's gonna run the function for not root to check if you're running the root. It's gonna do the update. It's gonna do the programs install. It's gonna do the install Herbst function. Then it's gonna run the Herbst file fetch, and then it's gonna print you out a little bit of a box here that says Herbst automatically creates an X-Session entry. However, if you use StartX, you need to edit your XNetRC on your own. And then it's gonna print the closing statement and exit. And then Berry, same thing. It's going to check that you're not running root. It's going to do an update on the system. It's going to run programs install and install all the programs. It's going to install Berry. Then it's going to fetch Berry's files. Then it's going to tell you it'll make the desktop entry if you want it to. And if you choose yes, it'll make that. And if you choose no, it will print the closing statement and you'll be done. So this right here at the end of the script, you can come down here if you don't want to run one of these. Like if you don't want to install those programs, like I said, you can comment out this program's install line and the rest of the script will run. It will just skip over that function. That being said, if you do that and don't install my programs, you're going to have to go through and change pretty much a vast majority of my key bindings and stuff like that, because that's what I use on my system, and so that's what those key bindings are going to call. So there's going to be heavy editing to files and stuff, and so it kind of defeats the purpose. You may as well just install it on your own and write your own config file if that's the way you want to do it. I'm not trying to discourage you from using my script. If you still want to do that, by all means, I just want you to be aware of that. So that being said, that's just kind of a quick rundown on the script and how it works, and that it's out and available. Let's go ahead and do a quick run on a couple systems here. So I have a VM right here You can see void. So again, this script will run on void. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. So we're going to do auto install .sh. We're going to hit enter, and it's going to print out important, and then it's going to print you out a little thing here that says this script utilizes the home directory and the user local bin. It'll make it if not found. Please be sure to review the README, yada, yada, yada. Select yes to continue or no to exit. So we're going to say yes. We're going to hit enter and say, yay, let's get started. Checking for required directory. It found the directory, so let's enter our password. It's going to go ahead and do an update. Let's see, this might take... Do you want to update? If you say no, unfortunately, it will fail. So it will close out the script because it doesn't want to... if you say no to anything, it doesn't want to run the rest of the way. So hopefully this doesn't take too long. I'm sitting in my truck with using my phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot. So hopefully this will run fairly quickly. It's not going too slow. That being said, again, I was hoping to keep this video less than an hour, or less than a half an hour, because I know that gets tedious and people don't want to watch that. So hopefully that still happens, and I can keep this video around 15 minutes. Yeah, we're going pretty good, 66%. Again, I'm not much of taking and splicing clips and cutting stuff out and editing. I just like to shoot and go. So I apologize if this is boring for you and you roll your eyes and unsubscribe to my channel, because that's how I run it, but that's how I do it. So almost done here, and we will be good to go on the update portion. And bam, okay, unpacking. And now it's going to ask which do we want to install. We'll start with herps left, and we'll go ahead and do that. It's going to go ahead and update the system. Do you want to continue? Yada, yada, yada. And going again. So I hope everybody's having a great week. Had a great week this week. Like I said, mine was a bit rough. It was pretty stormy this week. Got some water damage in our yard and stuff, but you know, just one of those weeks in spring where it just wants to be wet. So that being said, we're almost done here. Okay, 94, 95%, 97. Come on now, baby. Don't make people hate me. So we're installing. We're going to install the dependencies now. Yes. And this shouldn't take long at all. This is just a few things. So yeah, we're already halfway done. Sorry, take a drink here. My throat's getting dry. From all this small talk I have to fit in here while we do the update stuff on this. Again, this is on a VM. This won't always happen on yours, but this is on a VM that I haven't run for a while, so it's trying to do everything that it's behind on, and if I tell it not to do something, it will fail. Okay. Void does not have the AUR, but it does have the void source repo. Would you like to install and set it up now? I'm going to say no, because that normally takes 5 to 10 minutes on a good connection. So I don't even want to try it right here. So I actually already have it installed. So this is going to tell me it's got these packages already installed. We're going to go ahead and run through. D menu to work correctly, you need to have my config. Do you want to install my config? Yes. So it's going to clone into my D menu. It's going to actually compile it. Now it's installing herps. Hold on to your neck beard, because here we go. Do you want to install? Yes, I do. And we are going to be done, and it's going to say please read before continuing. This gives you the important key bindings, gives you the little heads up that I tried to cover all scenarios, and then tells you to please reboot your system. So let's go ahead and reboot. Oops. And now we will log back into Void. And sorry, I don't have a very high-powered system, so when I run VMs, they don't run the fastest. So I apologize for dragging this out and making you guys watch, but I just wanted to show you that this script works and that it is a viable option for you. So that being said, we are now. Hey, check out the size of that cursor. We are now. You can see we got session cinnamon. Now let's click on that, and oh look, we got a herbs lift session. Let's go ahead and log in, and fingers crossed everything worked. And there we go. Look at that. That looks familiar, right? If you look up here on my regular system, you can see that that's looking like what we got. Let's see if my scripts went to the right place. Mod enter should do a script or a scratch pad for my terminal. So if I hit mod enter, hey, there we go. Mod shift D should launch my program launcher. It does. Yes, we want to exit that. Mod shift C should do the logout menu. It does. Mod shift I should do my VSP, which is my void source packages deal. So if I do mod shift I, there it is. You can install packages from the void source repo. Mod shift return should launch a terminal. We are good to go. Look at that. That thing works like a dream. So that's just it. I can show you it works the same on Arch too. I won't make you sit through the process again on the VMs because it takes a while, but that is my script. That is up and going. It is ready for you to take a look at it. Please do me a favor if you use it. Let me know what you think. First off, and two, let me know if you have issues so I can go back and correct or do whatever else. Or if you got some suggestions for me, let me know on that too. So that being said, man, I hope you have a great weekend and stay safe. Spend some time with your family. It's Mother's Day this weekend, man. Show your mom how much you love her. And you guys just have a great weekend. God bless.